Right, hello. I'm hoping with this stream you'll be able to hear me properly, because the problem is obviously voice diaphragm. Don't know how good the mic is on that. If I go closer and shout, does that register it better? Because again, I don't know how well the audio is coming across on that. But I wanted to do an entire stream potentially in this mask, or we'll swap masks if this one, for whatever reason, isn't very good. Hopefully we get some people on. But yeah, the idea is, anyway, I might try and put that a bit more central if I get that to sit there without falling over. Is that good? Yeah, that seems good. Let's give it a little bit more zoom. Yeah, cool. And then what I'm going to do is do a pop-out chat. It's sort of similar to the GB7, so it's closer to the PMK1, but this is the Russian export version. I've done a video on it, but I can't remember the name without looking it up. So let me know if you can hear me all right. As I said, I've got the, no, it's not a pink one. So, but hopefully you can hear me all right, because like I said, it's using the microphone on the camera, because I didn't want the aircon blowing into the other microphone non-stop. So it's the, I think it's a Briz mask. Okay, can you hear me? So, yeah, what I'm doing with this is, I'll make the chat bigger on there if it lets me do it, because I want to make the chat more readable at a distance without my glasses on. YouTube doesn't seem to let me do that. That's annoying. Where's control scroll not working? Let me close that window and see if I can do it on the regular chat window. Well, I'm even going to close the pop-up chat. It's not. I'll just do that. I'll have to just make sure I shrink the thing after the stream. So don't forget to like the stream, everyone. So what I'm doing, there's a video on this tomorrow. If I can show you this without, see if I can get this cable might be literal. But what I have here is, get that to look at that. Not my face. The active track's working too well. I've got a variable laptop power supply connected to a PAPR. So what that means I can do is I can quite literally, use use a PAPR unit without wasting batteries, which is really good. So that's set to 18 volts at the moment. This particular PAPR unit is meant to run somewhere between 12 and 24 volts. So yeah, there's a PAPR unit here. It's plugged in at the bottom. Let me just take the harness off of it for the moment, because that's, although that harness is useful, it's kind of getting in the way for what I want to do here. If I can squeeze it in. Typically that doesn't want to loosen it. I want to get that off for the sake of showing you guys what I'm doing. I'm off the power switch. So yeah, say hello and all that, and I'll show you my setup in a second. I'm just loosening this so I can get the rigging off the thing. I just have to unplug it a second. I can still breathe through this when it's not plugged in. It's just that when it's not plugged in, obviously I'm having to breathe and it's no longer positive pressure. So how this works, I've got these like laptop style connectors to this thing. I can't remember which one I was using previously. Essentially plug it in. There we go. This powers up. You can see there it's in the green. If that focuses on the power indicator. Because if I dial this up and down, if I dial it up and down, you'll see the pin move. That's low battery light because it's too low power. That's it running at 24 volts. Won't carry on doing that in case I burn out the PAPR. So let's set it to about 18 volts. It's all right. It's on 18.1 now. We'll be fine. But you can see there, look, we're nicely in the green for the PAPR's power supply. It's pulling through fine. And positive pressure. So yeah, just to test this out, what you can do, just make sure it doesn't block like that. Is what I can do is pop it in my chin. Yeah, not my most comfortable mask. I do like this one. Because it's positive pressure, you don't actually break the seal when you do that if you work a certain corner. This is not a bit, might get to see it in the bottom or something. Yeah, let's just give it a good old test. Yeah, working perfectly, and that's the ammonia. So yeah, let's have a chat. I hope you guys can hear me because you haven't said if the mic was working or not working. I'm assuming it's working because nobody said mic is broken yet. But yeah, so this isn't the most comfortable, so I'm still sweating quite a lot under it. Shall I change to the USM 40? I might change to the USM 40. Oh, right, good, all okay. I might swap to the USM 40, so let's do that. So, yeah, you can hear there the PAPR running. So yeah, let's unscrew this guy. Do you have PMG? I do. Don't have it handy, but I do have PMGs. I've done videos on them. I have the proper Soviet PMG, and I've got the version of the PMG. Like the Hungarian versions that aren't the real PMG, but they're basically the same thing. So yeah, let's get a USM 40. Again, the straps are going a bit on this. Get that on. And then see if I can figure out where the connecting point is there. Hopefully I've got that on. If not, I'll take the mask off and do it if it's too awkward. Yeah, that's going in now, right and tightly. There we go. Probably cut this on my knee if I can, so there's not as much weight pulling from the hose, but yeah. Right, I don't know, sodium chloride. So yeah, that's that working with a PAPR now. If I block it, you might be able to see the mask start inflating a bit. But yeah. Yeah, that's working all right with the M40. Again, PAPRs are very nice on a hot day because you've at least got cool air blowing over your face, which is much more pleasant than if it's let's try and straighten that up again. Which is much more pleasant than breathing on your own with one of these. You can see actually there it's causing the mask to swell up there, and somebody has escaping my face there, but it's all right. Like I said, it's positive pressure, so it's working all right. I'm keeping it stuck in the skin. There's my bottom straps one. Don't need it too tight, but as well. Alright, we'll just test this again. Yeah, it's working all right. Let's see if I can get that to active track in front of my mask a bit better. Yeah, I hope everyone's all right. So yeah, another hot day here today. Not as bad as yesterday. Yesterday got to about 34C, 35C inside. I had a drinking tube this morning now, in front of my face when I'm trying to talk. Yeah, so this works well. Yeah, it's because they're an older style strap that's not as good. It's the M40 is the older style elastic straps that wear out. Let me show you what I mean. And BBJ says him and his dad dug up an old fireman's gas mask. Looks like the 80s, maybe 90s. Rubber falling part already. Still interesting though. What country is that in? But yeah, so the straps on this, I'll just disconnect this and I'll show you what I mean. Is, yeah, you can see where they're the older fashioned style of elastic strap and they're starting to go a bit. Especially those bottom straps, because they're the ones that are tightened and loosened the most. See where that's all clearly sort of decaying? Well, not decaying, but you know, the weight of the mask, you know, and strapping and unstrapping it is obviously straight like. There's my Canadian C4 behind me. Anywhere obvious? That's cool, mask. There it is. So yeah, let's do the Canadian C4 because that's a cool mask, and I've never run it with a PAPR before. Anything. So let's reconnect the hose to it. That connects quite well to that one, actually. And again, this has a better skull cap point strap system. Check that on. UK, yeah, I don't know because a lot of different UK firefighting services use different masks for each service. So there we go. There's the like I said, there's the M4, Canadian C4. And like I said, this is actually really nice with the PAPR. I've got good airflow over my face. The mask isn't too heavy, even with that strap on there, because that's the problem when you're doing like the PAPR thing, is the weight of the hose is always pulling down on the thing. No, the PAPR I've had for ages. It's just that I finally wired it up so I can plug it into a wall socket. Because before it ran on batteries, and obviously it's expensive to replace 10 AA batteries every time you run it down. So how it's working at the moment, I plugged it into a wall socket using a laptop power supply that, like I said, I can dial up and down, so I can have it really high pressure. So yeah, the because I've got the variable thing, I can dial up the power supply at higher and lower voltage. As far as I'm aware, 24 volts won't instantly burn out this pump, which is good. But most of the time, I won't run it on that. But it is kind of funny overclocking it. But yeah, it's basically just compared to before. The reason that it's nice is that if I'm using it like here, I don't have to worry about the batteries because it's just plugged into the wall socket. So yeah, like I said, because this one has a certain sort of DC connector, you know, I'm just going to let some people know I'm on manually because YouTube isn't sharing this very well as usual. See if I can delete off the Discord the message. It's but yeah, let me just manually share this to. I'm going to put a goal on, not that I expect anybody's going to do anything. But yeah, not that I'm expecting loads of people to donate, but I might as well do this because YouTube likes me doing this. That's annoying. Yeah, you can find them on eBay sometimes, the old canteens. You can also connect a Camelback to your FM12. That'll work as well and is quite good. I like a Camelback more than a canteen with my masks. It's a lot easier to use. Anyway, let me just share this live stream to Twitter. Let me find the live stream thing. I'll check for you in a moment. I'm not sure without looking. Let's have a look. So, according to the weather websites, so yeah, according to the weather websites, just a second, I'm just making sure Twitter posted my post. Yeah, it did. Okay, good. Right, so I haven't got a thermometer handy other than my flare. So let me just check the flare because I put the thermometer in my bedroom the other day. But with the temperature here, let's have a look. We'll let that load up and then it will tell you, it will show you what my face is. Right, where it says 100C, that obviously isn't correct. The actual temperature, if it calibrates itself, because it's definitely off at the moment, we're not 100 Celsius, it's not that bad. 30 Celsius in most of this room. Bits of the ceiling are getting closer to 35. My aircon is making this room bearable, but a lot of the rooms in the house have got to 35C the other day. Let me just run a, what do you call it, load up the Met Office or whatever, and we'll have a look what my local weather is. Yesterday was meant to be the hotter day, so outside 28 to 30 Celsius today. Tomorrow could get up to 31. The humidity is expected to be 65, so again, it's the humidity that makes all this stuff not very fun. You know, because obviously the humidity is where stuff is just horrible. I'm just going to see if I can manually share this to my YouTube dashboard thing as well, to see if it gets anyone on, like doing a create a post thing. Because the funny thing with YouTube is now, a lot of the time, I get more people when I do the posts viewing them than I do when I do the actual videos. I'm just trying to get that to zoom in again. Come on. There we go. I might zoom out a little bit more. Yeah, that's pretty good. About 2 times zoom. Right, so I'll just put a post. So let's do create post. Let's get the spell check right and we'll post that. Right, anyway, I'll go back to the chat. 1 second. What am I doing? John Connor. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, the thing is at the moment is the UK is getting hotter and hotter records nearly every year. So, for example, at the moment, today is, so like I said, some of the days recently, what was yesterday's record? Hang on. Yeah, so 2 days in a row we broke the hottest recorded temperature for May, and yesterday was 35.1 Celsius, and that was in London. And bear in mind, this is May, this isn't June or July yet. So yeah, it's only going to get hotter, unfortunately. And like I said, the problem is in the UK is, although I paid for aircon and bought aircon myself, most places don't have aircon in the UK because it used to be built around, you know, people originally being in cold temperatures. So everything is insulated for cold winters. So it becomes really, really miserable in the summer because it's humid, which a lot of people don't understand why humidity makes hot temperatures worse, because you can't sweat and evaporate the heat off. All the houses are built like fucking ovens. Yeah, and it's just not designed for that sort of thing. Yeah, I've got the aircon in here. If I'm in my actual bedroom, I've got my absolutely huge fan on. But that doesn't cool the air, but at least it makes a wind tunnel. Sodium chloride said billions must use AI. Yeah. Is that like the Chud AI version? Yeah, like I said, it's still funny. Yeah, I don't even see it. Let's do that full. Yeah. It's quite funny making masks fart when you've got a PAPR on. Yeah, this mask is surprisingly comfy with the PAPR, actually. It's nice. I think it's because most of the air actually hits most of your face, as opposed to only being stuck in the oral nasal cup. But yeah, so any topics people want to bring up, bring them up. Like I said, I've not got much on other than chatting with you guys at the moment. It's too hot to really do much. I've already got a video scheduled for tomorrow. Might film another one today if I can think of something good to do. Oh, is the guy on in the chat at the moment that asked about Legacy of the Daleks the other day? Because if they are, like the uniforms in it, I have actually started watching it, so I can tell you what they are. So sound off if you're in the chat. Any 40mm NATO mask can work with this PAPR, because it's a 40mm NATO hose. So as long as it's 40mm NATO connection, it works with the PAPR. So if you want to suggest a mask, and again, I'm not going to go wandering around the house looking for masks, but if there are masks in this room, I could test them out. I might just test a Chinese mask I've got near me with this at the moment. Again, this is the most comfortable mask of it so far. Like I said, this has just got a nice, just to focus on the mask on the face. So this has just got a nice wide open face piece, this mask. But yeah, let me have a look. There's a Chinese industrial mask behind me. Try that one. This is quite a good mask for a Chinese mask. Let me just get that hose properly facing downwards before I connect them in. Hey, I've already showed it, but I'll get out again. 1 second. Let me put the mask on, then I'll show it you. It's the West German one I've done videos on for. Right, that's that there. Where's the exhale valve? Yeah, I can feel the air coming out from around there. That's right. So, as I said, so it's the German PAPR unit. Let me zoom it out a minute so it doesn't keep hitting it. It's the German PAPR unit for wounded soldiers, but I've got it running now off a laptop power supply, so I can plug it into the wall and not waste batteries. Because, so obviously, it's got 2 speeds normally when you connect it to a battery pack. That's low and that's high. It's got the battery indicator there that shows you your battery level. So if I dial down my power supply, you'll see it goes into the red and it starts doing the warning light. If I obviously turn off the power supply, then it shuts off entirely. If I have the power supply on very low, it doesn't turn it on. If I go to about 8 volts is the minimum to even power this thing, and then it's doing the battery warning. Obviously, if I dial it up, it's in the green now, but probably not meant to running on 24 plus volts, so I'll dial it back down to 18 volts. There you go, it's just on 17 and a bit volts now, and that's easily in the green section of the power supply. Lots of nice bits of air coming through. But yeah, this is nice now, because like I said, I've got it set up so I don't have to waste batteries on it if I'm in the house. I was going to test this with 9-volt batteries. I don't know if I've got the 9-volt connector. If I have, I'll quickly go grab that. So let me just... let me just quickly see if I've got my 9-volt battery connector. I'll need some tin foil as well, actually, to put them in parallel. No, I won't bother doing that right now. I'll do it on the video at a separate point, because I might have to do a bit of stuff before it works. So let me flip that back on. Put that back on the floor. It's just not going to fall over. That'll do. And then pop this back on. All right, cool. I'm glad you discovered it, because at the moment YouTube isn't really sharing my videos anymore. Well, not like it used to, anyway. So, the Chinese S10 is actually NATO. So it's the most of the export models. I think some of the PLA actual army ones, the FMJ08s, were DOSed. But the version I've got is NATO threaded because I've tested it. I'll zoom in a bit more again on my face. But yeah, so yeah, the actual Chinese military ones, I'm not sure at what year they moved to 40mm NATO, because some of that stuff is still GOST. But nearly everything Chinese that's exported now, thankfully, is NATO. It's getting harder and harder to accidentally be sent a GOST mask, which is why I was saying that, you know, Chinese masks off AliExpress are actually a good option now, because for lots of people, they will actually, you know, be the right type of connector. So like I said, that's just good, because it means that, you know, you can buy a Chinese mask, buy some proper, not Chinese 40mm filters for them, and then you're golden, because the masks are an all right standard, and you know they're new rather than dodgy second-hand surplus. So yeah, that's like I said, that's this Chinese mask. Yeah, I always, like I said, like bright coloured masks like that. It's like the reason that the I love this red TF1, the bright red TF1. I can put that on, but bear in mind when I put this on, you won't be able to hear me. But that does work, because this is again NATO threaded. It does work with this PAPR, but just you won't be able to hear me when I'm talking. So yeah, again, I like the red TF1s. Again, I always do the affiliate links for those, because it gets me a little bit of money if somebody buys one. But they're pretty cool. I like the fact they're bright red. Now we've got the Korean version of the C50 that's not as good. You could try that. That's handy. Again, this isn't a... Oh, this goes to my keyboard. What is it on? So yeah, this isn't as good as... This is nowhere near as good as the real C50, this one, because it's cheaper plastics that get scratched up very easily. But the actual rubber and the mask itself feel fine, but compared to the real C50, it's not got the panoramic lens. As you can see, it's got two eyepieces. And see how scratched up the eyepieces already are, even though I got it brand new? It's also got a bit, it's got a bit of dirt on that. Look, I have to give that a wipe after this. It's probably because it's fallen, probably coffee I've managed to splatter on it at some point. When I was doing that stream and the coffee mug went flying and hit everything. So let's, get that in. Again, really shitty 40mm connector on this one. Yeah, this has got one of those things where even though it's 40mm, it doesn't want to screw in very well. Come on, don't cross-thread, just screw in. Yeah, I've played Kingdom Come 1, not finished it yet, so no spoilers. I've got Kingdom Come 2 because I got it in a sale, but I'm not going to play that till I finish the first one. But again, I was playing quite a lot of Kingdom Come and then I got distracted for whatever reason. It's actually being really annoying to thread this in, I don't know why. You just put a hand underneath that to stop it moving the other way. Like I said, the quality control in these Korean masks isn't great. Right, I'm just going to hope that's in enough for it to function. It's not really screwed in very well, but... I literally showed the C4 earlier in the stream. I'll get it back out, but they're cool masks. So. So again, the face piece of this mask isn't bad, but it's definitely nowhere near as good as the proper Avon C50. Oh, wait, is this the Korean one or is this the Chinese one? I can't remember. This might be the Chinese one. I can't actually remember. Is this the Korean one or the Chinese one I've got? No, this is the Chinese one, sorry. It has most of the same faults as the Korean one. So yeah, sorry, yeah, this was actually a Chinese one. That might have been why. I've got the Korean one that's really similar to that as well, because they're both C50 ripoffs, but is that the Korean one up there? No, that's another Chinese one. So again, this is the one, the FMJ09, isn't it? This one. And there's so many filters on my desk now. I'm just connecting these to... I'll show the TF1 in a minute. Hang on. It would technically, Arnold Rimmer, protect you against Ebola, yeah, because you would be getting the. You'd have to wear an NBC suit as well, but yeah, it would protect you in the sense that you wouldn't be getting bodily fluids in your like eyes and nose and whatever. Hang on, I'll reply to you in a minute about the Italian stuff. Right, can I get this in without taking the mask off? The PAPR hose is a bit harder to screw on than filters because it's designed to, you know, connect at different angles, and then you push the connector up and then tighten it. I get no leakage around the pipe. Yeah, there we go. So that's the FMJ09 style mask. Better than the other Chinese mask with the drinking tubing on. You can see both the voice diaphragm if I hold my head at that angle and the exhale valve. They've opened that colour. See if the exhale valve permanently opens if I increase the. Yeah, there you go. So that's that one. So that's Italian camo. I'm not sure if it's M33. Hang on. Let me look up Italian M33 camo. It's whatever the older Italian camo is. Is that M34? It's the one the Italians used during the Cold War. Let me look up its proper name. Italian Cold War camo. It's very similar to the World War II camo they had. M1929 it's called. M1929. So yeah, they had it in World War II and the Cold War. M1929 camo is that one. Never had an M45, so can't tell you much about it. It looks cool, but never owned one. They're very rare. Yeah, I just went to camo PDF. But there's the kids. That's a children. Hang on. So I don't want this to keep aiming at my face if you're trying to look at the background. So hang on. On the wall there is a kids PDF mask, Soviet kids mask. There is also a Soviet PTM1 Fallout mask. There's an MM1 tank crewman's mask on the mannequin. Yeah, I know, it's a very nice camo. But yeah, so somebody wanted to see the C4 again, and somebody wanted, all right, because I haven't shown the thing properly yet. Let me get that. So yeah, we'll do the TF1. Couldn't get the connection going. Again, like I said, with the PAPR screw style system, it's way easier doing it when you don't have the mask on. So that's that. Like I said, you probably can't hear me because there's no voice diaphragm on this thing. So no voice diaphragm. Oh, this isn't a military mask. If I dial this up to full and then close the voice diaphragm, that's better. And off he goes. Yeah, you can force the mask off yourself with the PAPR set that high on this thing. No, it's just an industrial one. This PAPR, in theory, if you had a long enough hose and it could still blow you the thing and the air thing was on the surface, yeah, it would provide you with air underwater, but you'd have to have a long enough hose. So you'd end up like one of those old you know, like retro Big Daddy looking diving suits. There's a reason that, you know, most people have an air canister on them or a rebreather if they go underwater rather than just a big long hose. But yeah, it's essentially just pumping air. Yeah, I'll get the C4 back out. But yeah, so like Canadian C4. So whoever was asking questions about that, Canadian C4, really nice mask. I think they had issues with them originally when they first went into service to do what do you call it? Like I think it was like glue issues. They did these in both green, like the USM 40, and this black color. My particular one doesn't have any issues. It doesn't leak or anything. It's very nice. I'd say it's a bit better than the S10 and the M40. It's a better field of view with those big bug eyes. It's got the good US style voice diaphragm on the front. It did have a little exhale valve cover down there that has long since fallen off, but it works fine without it. You know, a bit like the US M40 and the M9 had. Just one of those like deflector things, so you could point the direction the air came out of. Standard US style drinking tube, a secondary voice diaphragm on that side. All right, Sherlock. But yeah, like I said, it's overall a very nice mask. Like I said, it's quite comfortable. So let me put this back on. Yeah, there we go. That's that back on. And as I said, yeah, with a PAPR, this is really comfortable in the hot weather. Lots of nice cool airflow over my face. Yeah, really don't need it on. But yeah, this is nice and comfy. You know, nice air blowing on my face for this one. Mask doesn't feel too heavy. You know, works well. I could use it in my S6, but I don't know where my S6 is at the moment. But yeah, like I said, any 40mm NATO mask will work with this PAPR unit. In theory, if I put a GOST hose on this, you could use it with a GOST mask as well. But you might then have to put some electrical tape or like plumbing tape around some of the bits to make sure it stays airtight. But yeah, but it's a NATO. It's German, this PAPR unit, so it's designed to run with 40mm NATO masks. Yeah, all right. Yeah, we've already gone through quite a lot of masks. All's good. Oh yeah, if you're on this stream, don't forget to like it, everybody, because like I said, YouTube isn't sharing my stuff very well at the moment. And what was I going to say? You know, it's a hot day and I'm wearing gas masks. Yeah, the C4, like I say, is really good. It's just that apparently because this mask had some teething issues with like bad rubber glues or something used on the first batch, it got a bit of a bad reputation. But it's better than the S10 and the USM 40. As I said, I've already talked about, I don't know, sodium chloride, had to get rid of them because the law changed. If I kept them and the police came to my house, they could throw me away for 10 years. As much as I'd like to keep them, you know, they know I had them. And if for whatever reason they got a warrant to search the house, if I still own them, I'd have got fucking done. But again, it's our cunting government that keep banning shit. Again, if you were somebody that didn't have a public profile, you could still own, you know, still own some of those. But because it's me, you know, and I'm at risk of being searched, you know, it's dangerous to keep them. Yeah, it is very good. Let me take the mask off and put it in front of the camera. Well, like I said, with the PAPR unit on, it's not as awful as it would be otherwise. But yeah, I'm going to cut my hair tomorrow, by the way, because it's getting way too long for my liking now. And when I'm on holiday in a couple of weeks, I want short hair for being. So that's its field of view. Let me try and unstop it doing the active track. Yeah, turn active track off. Let's zoom fully out. Yeah, that's its field of view. So pretty decent compared to a lot of ones. Like I said, when your eyes are actually up to it, it is a good field of view. You know, I can't see here, so the very sides of my vision are blinkered because of the rubber there. But in terms of straightforward vision, it's very good. I doubt that would work as well, actually, with that. Yeah, I mean, the problem is it's not long enough. But yeah, in theory, yes, it would make colder air go through it. What's happened in Skegness? But yeah, I'm not going to Skegness. I won't say where I'm going just for privacy reasons until after I've been. But yeah, like I said, the C4 is definitely one of the better masks prior to like the C50 style masks. I haven't tried this with night vision, but the front bit is actually, although it's domed, the front bit is quite flat. So if I can show you that, I don't know how you can see that there. That is pretty flat, so it should work all right with NVGs. It's very similar to the S10's kind of eyepieces, where it's kind of like, oh, the window just closed then. What happened there? Oh, I probably hit something with the hose or something. But yeah, the eyepieces here are very similar to the S10, where they're kind of not one bit of eyepiece. Like, so you've got a bit of plastic there, bit of plastic there, and then another bit of plastic there. So like the S10's lenses, they're flat on the front, relatively flat. So although it looks bug-eyed, it is relatively flat on the front. But yeah, they've curved the plastic in a good way. That means, unlike the S6, it doesn't give you motion sickness because it is quite, like I said, quite a well done curve on it, unlike the S6, where it's like very funhouse kind of mirror, sort of effect. But yeah, on this, because the front is flat, I imagine NVG's scopes work fine with it. So I imagine NVG's do. I haven't tested it with this one. Let me try the Forshida mask on it, one of my favourite masks. Again, I don't know what the voice diaphragm is on that, so bear with me. But yeah, the Forshida. Still in service, apparently, in Sweden, this mask. Which is called, well, again, the military version. This is a short-lived civilian one, but they actually hit the surplus market in numbers. But yeah, the Skied Master 90 or whatever it is. Like I said, the eye bulge is for different things. So the reason it's shaped like that is it's flat at the front for weapon optics, binoculars, night vision probably. And it's got bits to the side so you don't only have a frontal bit of vision. No, it's not weird. Again, like I said, the reason... Again, so they're doing a similar thing to the shums at the front with the lenses, so it works with optics. But unlike the shums, it'd be like with this mask, if at those areas of it, they had like a see-through bit of plastic that was curved. Because the whole idea with the other one is that, it's done in a way that, what do you call it? That, so let's try the Forshida next. Oh, that's really nice. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Oh, lovely. Air hitting my face, very comfortable mask. I know this doesn't really have a proper voice diaphragm, so you might struggle to hear me. Again, if I find it, but don't keep asking, or it's going to annoy me. Again, if I find it, like I said, I'll put up to say and I'll let you know. But until I say that, don't keep asking me about it because I haven't found it yet. And as said with eBay, I'm selling a few things off at once. So until the Geiger counter sell and the gas mask sell, I'm not adding extra stuff to eBay. I'm selling some bits and listing more bits. I do have a tanker helmet, but I don't think there's one in the pile behind me. Yeah, it surprises me because this isn't like a proper voice diaphragm on this. No, that's all right. Again, I find it more weird the people that come on this channel and then whinge I've got a gas mask on. Because, if you come here and you're like, oh, I find this kind of stuff cool, so that's why you're wearing it, good on you. I just find it, more annoying when people come on here and they're like, oh my God, why are you wearing a gas mask? That's creepy. You must be a pervert. What a weirdo. Yeah, like I said, this is a really nice mask. It's just a shame the military version don't really end up on the surplus market. Because like I said, Sweden has been using this mask since the 1990s, making it one of, if I'm right about that, one of the longest military masks in history. As again said, the military variant, not this variant. The military variant's basically this with a drinking tube around that bit. And I think there's that's a blanking plug there, so you can swap the filters on either side of the mask, as opposed to like the fixed closed off bit. But yeah, it was the very early 90s the Swedes put this into military service, and they're still using it. So that is like 36 years at this point or whatever. Well, like I said, American Mickey Mouse mask, but I'm never actually going to buy one of those because of the fact that, like I said, the problem is with the American Mickey Mouse mask. I've got a bit of a bruise there. I don't know what hit me in the face there. A bit of a bruise, yeah. But yeah, the American Mickey Mouse mask, but not that I'd want to own one because again, you really have to look after it. But it's just how rare it is. Although, like I said, what I will get if I get enough spare money, and oh look, I'm going to be cheeky and go, don't forget to like the stream, and there's a live chat goal up on whatever bit of the stream it turns up for you. So if people wanted to donate, they could donate to me, and it would make it easier for me to get this thing. But there's a British company, I think, that does really good kind of like Halloween masks. And they're actually doing a reproduction of the US Mickey Mouse mask, the Disney Mickey Mouse mask. So it wouldn't have any like collector's value in the sense it's an original, but it's just cool that you can buy somebody that's made a brand new one, to a really good copy of the original because of the fact that, they know there was a demand for it. So I think they're about £200. What's the scuba mask? I don't have a scuba mask. That's self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. The only thing to that I have is the is the IP4, and I don't even know where that is, so I can't wear it. But no, I don't have any proper scuba masks. Right, I can't thread this tight on here because I don't want to damage the threads. But this, in theory, I can make a positive pressure connection with the shums, just because of the fact that as long as there's enough of a thread there, it's going to be positive pressure, unlike when you normally wear a filter. There we go. So, just a test. This is positive pressure. Yeah. I'm dialing it up a bit because of the leaky bit there. I've permanently got the valves open there. Look, there's a positive pressure. Yeah. Lower that down a bit. Right, let's see on about 14 volts of air supply. If it's still, oh, that's a shame. See if this still works. So yeah, you can make this, you can use ghost masks with this thing as long as you don't thread it in too tight and damage the threads. Because even if there's a bit of leakage there, because it's positive pressure, not negative pressure, it works all right with the threading system. So yeah, ghost masks work with this thing as well. I'm not tempted to sneeze at the moment, even though my hay fever's bad. There's no pollen getting into me at the moment because of the fact I'm using a filtered air supply. So there's that. Which one was the best sounding one, BBJ? The shums I've got on now. Right, equalizer. So sadly at the moment, yes, because it used to be I did YouTube part-time with work part-time, but the last job I was in just got really bad and I had to quit. I'm looking for more work again soon, but the problem is at the moment I've got some stuff on. So basically, if I got a job, I'd immediately have to say, right, you need to run a load of holidays, which a lot of employers don't like doing. So my plan is in a couple of months, when everything that's been going on should be sorted out, in my life, in a sense, both like nice things and bad things. Once all those are sorted out, I should be able to go into a job and basically not worry what day of the week I'm working, or it would still have to be part-time because I still want to do YouTube stuff and I've still got family commitments. But what I mean is it should mean at least I can go into a job and not say, oh, I immediately need to book all these days off on the first day of the job. Because like I said, that's the problem at the moment. That, that with my sort of, what's going on at the moment. Oh, yeah, I don't know where they are at the moment, unfortunately. Yeah, but you're on about the Polish ones, aren't you? For the, Polish tank crew escape mask with the little rebreather system that, is designed that basically, and that won't connect to this either because that's not designed for 40mm connections. All of the scuba masks, like either land-based SCBAs or underwater scubas, the positive pressure ones, the rebreathers, not positive pressure, rebreathers. All the rebreathers use a completely different connection, so you don't mistake them with gas masks because they're designed so you can't connect them to something like this, and not unless you 3D printed and then taped up some like custom-made connectors, because rebreathers are designed that you always breathe in and out of the same mask into this scrubber unit, because it's a chemical reaction that removes the carbon dioxide from your breath, so you can keep breathing the same oxygen over and over until the scrubber unit wears out. With masks like these, they're obviously designed for 40mm filters. The only weird mask, and I don't have it handy right now, but is kind of weird, is I've got a Sieb Gorman mask where the army wanted it in 40mm, even though it's designed to be used only with a PAPR. It doesn't work properly if you use it with just a filter on the mask. Oh, let me check for you, Hype. So it was Resident Evil a couple of days ago, wasn't it? The first day you were watching on your Japanese VPN. I might have to PM you about that if it's something YouTube doesn't like me talking about on that. But so if I go to the day one of the Resident Evil streams was on, marginally higher. Yeah, it's better than if like nobody watched. But yeah, it's not amazing extra revenue, but it's better than you using the other VPN, say. So yeah, if that was just you doing that compared to getting extra views that day, that has added like an extra, YouTube probably, I'm saying an extra 20p. So one person, yeah, watching from Japan with a couple of ad breaks does add quite a lot per individual viewer. Because again, YouTube is mostly built around with the ad revenue, lots and lots of people watching your channel with very little revenue per individual viewer. It's a numbers game, basically. But yeah, it's significant enough I can actually see on the graph it's slightly higher. So yeah. So thank you for watching with a Japanese VPN, because yeah, they give better ad revenue. MSA Millennium is the successor to the MCU 2P. So the MCU 2P was it the US Navy that used the MCU 2P or the Air Force? I can't remember. But it's basically the successor to that gas mask. It's meant to be a bit more reliable. It's not stupidly more reliable. Like, it still does go orange over time, like the Polish MP5 and all the other masks like that, because it uses like a flexible rubber for the face piece, like for the eyepiece, rather than for the panoramic lens, rather than it being like glass or plastic or whatever. But yeah. Anyway, I'll chuck this back on. Because like I said, the cool thing with this is, yeah, even though this is a ghost mask, and that's not properly threaded in there, because I can feel a bit of air leakage around there. Yeah, there's air leakage around there. The pressure is high enough that it still makes the mask work. What did you find in the UK? And if you're trying to put a link on it, won't let you do it. This is how YouTube works. I'm just going to get that zoomed in on my face a bit now. See if it can active track the monkey. / skull. Oh, it says the track. Oh. There we go. It's actually actively tracking my monkey mask now. Yeah, like I said, the strings like this, now I've got the PAPR unit, I don't mind wearing the masks as much. Because like I said, the problem is on a really hot day, they're horrible to wear. But now I'm running them off a PAPR unit that I don't have to worry about the battery supply, because it's running off of, like I said, the wall socket. Yeah, and I can dial it up and down as I need to, depending on the mask's breathing resistance. Yeah, it's nice. And I'm glad you can hear me over it, because that was the only thing I was worried about, is if the PAPR unit was so loud that you wouldn't be able to hear the, what do you call it, like, voice diaphragms or whatever. No, the Locust is very comfortable. Compared to the M17, the Locust is very comfortable, the XM28. Sadly, mine's damaged now, because one of the times I was tightening the straps, I think it actually happened on a live stream, one of the straps, the rubber just went because of the age of it, where I was tightening it or loosening it, and then that bit of rubber was like, fuck it, I'm out. I probably could rubber glue it together, but it's not a good mask anymore. But bear in mind, the Locust, the XM28, isn't a CBRN mask. It's literally just for particulates like tear gas, because it was designed for riot control and like the tunnel wraps. So I like it more than the M17. I think it looks cooler, but the problem is the filters in it aren't CBRN filters. They're literally just for particulates. So it'll protect you from like nuclear fallout. It'll protect you from various forms of tear gas and things like that. But it's not The reason, because it's lighter and thinner than the M17, is because it's not got a full-size filter in each of the cheeks. Well, I can't sneeze unless I need to sneeze. I cough then. You just get snot on the inside of the mask. If you're in a CBRN environment, you can't take it off. Again, one of the good things, and Hype's talked about this before in videos, the best masks, in my opinion, have the exhale valve at the very bottom. The reason being, when you sweat or vomit in your mask or whatever, it drains out the mask. If the exhale valve is higher up, you can have your sweat piling up in the mask and it still won't do anything. All right, Kevin, I've just been running gas masking and try a stream with my PAPR unit because I bought a laptop battery adapter thing, you know, like laptop power adapter that you can dial up and down for various models of laptop. And I've now got it hooked up to the PAPR as its power supply, so I don't have to worry about running batteries down constantly if I use it on the stream. Because the problem with the PAPR unit I've got is that the way it was set up was to take either the official German battery for it, which are unobtainium and they're not rechargeable anyway, or you have to put in loads of AA batteries with an adapter. And after this stream, I'm going to see if I can set this PAPR unit up to get 18 volts with two 9 volts in series, not parallel. Yeah, don't forget to like the stream. It helps me out. Also, if anybody wants to donate, there's the thing, whichever side it shows up for. It's that side for me. I don't know if it is for you guys, but there's the like live chat goal. Not that I'm expecting many people to donate, but yeah, you could do it with a really long extension cord. Like I said, on my desk, I've not got it done that way. But yeah, because how it worked originally with the PAPR unit, if I just show it you again, hang on, I'll put the mask down a minute, is how this is powered. There was 2 ways of powering it. So there's the power adapter where you can have it off battery level 1, battery level 2, or you can have it on vehicle power supply 1, vehicle power supply 2. And how it works is obviously originally, so the vehicle power supply bit, if you use that, is just that bit there as a special. You could probably just do that with a 2-prong homemade adapter quite easily. But that's like, you know, essentially like a cigarette lighter adapter for vehicles. Although basically you'd have had to, thank you, Corey. So basically how that would work originally is that you'd have had, I think, a AC to DC car like plug-in adapter thing. And then that would probably put this between 12 and 24 volts because it could run off both 12 and 24 volt engines. But, you know, I'm not using it. So how it would work with a battery originally, see the screws there, is the German army batteries for this thing had a screw thread at the top. They're kind of weird. And then it was a lithium battery with the connector built right there. So basically how it would work is that you'd screw the battery on, and when the battery is fully screwed on, it connects there. And it's I think it was a 14 volt lithium battery when I looked it up. But you can't really get those easily on the surplus market, and apparently they did have a habit of exploding now and again and setting on fire. So the guy, Steve from the Nuclear Family, he was a fan of the channel, and I don't know if he runs an eBay business anymore, so I can't really shout him out for that. Have I got the bottom cap handy, or did I move it somewhere else? But basically, this thing has a bottom cap on it that, yeah, typically I can't find how I want to show it, but it had... what he did is he 3D printed like what would be the shell for the original battery, and then he made an adapter so you could, you know, because it uses, like I said, one of these kind of laptop style power supplies. He did a thing so it was loads of AA's in a battery pack, which then connected to a 9 volt style battery thing, which then connected to one of these laptop power things, so you could run it off of those. Yeah, this weirdly isn't for the drivers. This is the wounded soldiers one. So I think the Germans, like most nations with their PAPRs, like the American C420, had a double filter thing for the actual like hazmat troops and all that sort of thing. What this thing was designed for, even though it works absolutely fine as an individual person's PAPR unit, these were designed basically as a thing. So if there was a wounded soldier, you put a loose fitting like hood over their head. I've done a video on the actual hood for it. It's pretty horrible. But you put a thing over their head and then like tighten it probably around their neck in case because of like head wounds or if they're unconscious or whatever. And then you switch the PAPR on so they can just breathe with the hood on and it's positive pressure. Yeah, there is a katana down there somewhere. But yeah, so when you plug a laptop power supply in, like I said, if you want to run it from your house without, you know, running down batteries, get a laptop power adapter. You have to have it between 12 and 24 volts. Flick it on. I'm currently got it set to 14 volts. Because like I said, this is one I can dial up and down, which is good because I didn't have to buy one and hope it was good enough for the thing. And this is really good for being variable because if I wear a mask that has more breathing resistance or whatever, you just dial it up a bit more. So yeah, now it's sucking through that filter. And then, like I said, even though it's a NATO 40mm hose on this, because it's positive pressure, you can just loosely screw it into a GOS connector. And then you have an airtight seal with a filter mask, and it still works properly. So yeah, still makes an airtight seal. Katana. Yes, there is a katana cleaner. Don't want to damage anything else like that. Yeah. That is a katana. Japanese noises. Something. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, that's a shame. Did you? Because they run on DC though, with those, with that, just take the mask off just so you can hear me a bit better, even though I don't mind wearing a mask. With the in theory, could you just get a like DC, the AC car connector to a because you can buy these things that then go to a 212 volt. Let me see if I can find you what I mean on eBay. Let me go to ebay.com and hopefully it won't send me to UK eBay. So I'll see if I can find one you can get, because I have run Soviet things doing a similar thing, but not actually directly off a car. I did it using a car thing on a power bank, where it had the 12 volt connector that way. So 12V car to red, black, it's positive, negative cable. So I know these things should exist. I don't need a dual female socket one. Yeah, could you just, in theory, this is coming from China. Let me just get the link, Kevin, short enough so it hopefully lets me post it. But in theory, you should just be able to get one of these, shouldn't you? Or you might need, that was a Falchion, yes. In theory, you might need the one that's the male one, depending on your vehicle, because that's a female one, isn't it? So you probably want the opposite one, the opposite way around than that. But you should be able to get like the one that goes into your cigarette lighter. And again, you might have to do it in two parts, because you might have to first get one of these, the extension socket ones. Let me just, again, horribly long URLs that are too bloody long to put into a YouTube thing. But yeah, in theory, couldn't you get two of these and like chain them together, where you get that one so it plugs into your cigarette lighter. I know that says it's UK stock, but I assume US cars have the same cigarette lighters, don't they still? So you plug that into your cigarette lighter. Then where you've got the female extension bit, I suppose you'd need a male one again for that, but you could always just rewire it yourself. But yeah, you just essentially want the crock clips attached to, let me just see, male cigarette lighter plug crock clip. Because I want one that's obviously, like I said, male connection at the end. Yeah, so essentially, you just want one of these, and then you just want to connect it up yourself using crock. This is an even longer URL I'm having to purge now, so give me a second. But yeah, in theory, just get one of these, put some crock clips onto your thing, and it should work. No, not the filter. We are on about night vision just briefly, but also this PAPR unit I'm using, you could wire up the same way. Yeah, in theory, didn't the Germans hype add in, I think, the M2000, like some sort of glucose packets or something like that? Like, I think for the drinking tube, they did have a system in that there was like some calorie dense liquid you could drink through it. Sadly, because medieval armor costs a lot of money and it takes up space, I don't have any. I've got a couple of helmets. There's a Crusader helmet still in this room. I do have I have a European great helm style helmet somewhere. I also have a Conquistador helmet. I like the Conquistador helmet more. But yeah, I don't really have much medieval armor just because of the fact that like the recreations of it are generally expensive, and you know, again, if time and space were no money, and you know, money and space, sorry, not time, time's not related to it. But Pasca, I don't have handy, so I can't wear it. Again, I've got so much shit, like I keep saying. The problem is I don't know where half the stuff is. Lots of the stuff is in storage crates, stacked upon storage crates. Again, this room is messy as shit, but I can at least get at this stuff. The stuff I have neatly organized, I can't easily get at, because the problem is the stuff that's neatly organized. Put that back on. So the problem with the stuff that's neatly organized is that, you know, if it's in the lower crate, you have to take all the crates off the top to get to the lower crate. Sally helmets, I really like Sally helmets, but sadly don't own one. But yeah, they're like the Proto style helmets, aren't they? The thing about that, because I am not doing a video game stream and I need a headset on, 1 second. Where has the battery gone? Oh, there it is. There we go. So, yeah. But yeah, I wonder where my fucking Conquistador helmet is. I haven't seen it in ages. It's probably a load of my World War II and Cold War helmets in a crate somewhere, in all honesty. I could equip my own personal militia, but I'd have to be careful saying about that with the UK government. They might think, well, that has some right-wing thuggery going on. And then, you know, we had to preemptively arrest him and sentence him to life in prison because he was going to kill our shitty government. But if I added all the stuff together and added the kilos together, it would be tons of shit, literally tons. Bear in mind, some of the body armors with plates are like 20 kilos each. That's the helmet's a replica. Yeah, this is a replica Chinese one. Don't know what the camera did there. Come back. Yeah, this is a Chinese. Just Chinese. It's a very good reproduction. It's proper metal. It's like proper thick steel. But yeah, it's a replica. I did have a real German style helmet at one point, but it was in bad condition, and I ended up selling it and still got more money than I paid for when I sold it. So, you know, it was one of those things that it was cool to have for a bit, but, you know, pretty much unusable. It was rusted and had no liner. And, yeah, I ended up getting a lot more money back for it than I paid for it, so it was great. But, you know, in terms of practicality, the Chinese replica helmets are just for reenactors and films, and that are just better. Yeah, any other subjects people want to bring up? Don't forget to like the stream, as I've said, because maybe YouTube will then share my stuff. But yeah. When that camera I'm filming on starts to get too hot, I will have to go off, because that camera will shut itself off in theory if it overheats. But you know, it's like I said, it's 30-something Celsius in this room. The camera gets hot after running for a while. What time did I start the stream? Probably about an hour ago, because my goal is about to expire up there. I think I've set that for an hour, when I wasn't very far into the stream. That's what I don't want anything else, BBJ. Like I said, I've got too much shit as it is. I don't want any more surplus. Unless I get rid of a load of stuff or something I particularly want. Right. Let me just see if there's any other masks that are easy to get at that I haven't shown yet on this stream. Is that the GSR or the FR? Ah, nice. We can demonstrate this. The not the Scott GSR, but the Scott FRR or whatever it's called. FFR, FRR, I can't remember. But the GSR that's the proper 40mm version, not, you know, just rigging, taking the adapters off of the GSR to make it 40mm. Again, I still don't find the face piece really comes from my face, this mask, but I do like it this mask more just being in 40mm because you can just, you know, run it normally. FRR, first responder respirator. Oh, okay, now I know it stands for something. I'll remember that letter, first responder respirator. Okay. There's a bit of dust inside, so just give me a moment. Hopefully it's not going to get in my lungs. Get my chin in the right place. It's about there. It doesn't want to fit in it. I'm never sure with this mask. That's the problem with it. Come on, these straps don't want to tighten. Let me just see what's going on with those straps. Why don't you want to tighten and loosen? The strap's jammed due to age, I think. There we go. Just thread that back and forth a few times till it actually tightens easily or whatever when I'm wearing it. All the other straps, let's fully loosen that one. Yeah, fully loosen that one. Right, try again. Right, player CZ. I'll get the M40 back out. It was handy. I had it on earlier in the stream. It's not as comfortable as the C4 though. Bastard strap. So yeah, that's that mask on, pressurized. Like I said, this mask is always uncomfortable on my chin. It's better than the normal GSR, but for whatever reason, I never get a comfy chin fit with these. I've got my face into it a bit better now. But yeah, it's because this has like the drainage thing in the chin and it's got like the inner mask, my chin always wants to push into the wrong section with these. Yeah, for some reason the straps on this, yeah, I know what you mean. On some masks they're alright, on these they seem to stick a bit. The main issue with the M40 is that it's two masks in one because of the whole weird second skin thing. So if I get my M40 back out. It's not focused on my face anymore. So the M40, like I said, it's two masks in one, which makes it less comfortable. See, there's the actual M40 underneath, the green mask, and it's got the second skin on it because the actual mask underneath is made of silicone. So you have to have a rubber protective mask for your mask, and you know the outserts to clamp it in place. But the main issue of the M40 is it's the older strap design, whereas you can see those straps are starting to wear out a bit. I could actually, if you want, guys, take the second skin off of this, as long as I don't lose it. I might take the second skin off and just have the mask as it comes from the factory. Well, I had to put it on in the first place. It came with it, and like the outserts, but it wasn't on the mask in the first place. So yeah, there's one outsert. There's outsert number 2. Right now, let's deglove this thing like we're skinning a rabbit. Is it easier to start from the top or the bottom? Oh yeah, I think I have to take that valve cover off and then back on, if I remember right, for the exhale valve to get this off. So 1 second. So that bit more. Yeah, so I think I have to take that off like that. Then I can get the second skin, hopefully, off of there. Yeah. Pull that bit through the drinking tube bit and just stretch it to get it through. There we go. So that's that. That's the GIMP mask removed from the M40, the second skin. There we go. So that's the mask for your mask. Then we've got the actual M40. So let's just reattach the cover down there. Just need to align the little plastic and metal like securing things for this. Yeah, there we go. So that's the valve cover back on. So that's the MP40 as it actually originally looks about the second skin. I like the look of it a lot more like that. But like I said, it's just the annoying thing because the Americans made the mask out of silicon because the idea was, I think, originally that silicon would be like less allergy sort of thing. Yeah, Cartel Live Leak Simulator again. He's killing the mask. Oh my god! But yeah, so I think the M40 looks way better like this. But the problem is this rubber, the silicon. The mask is now lighter weight, less bulky and everything, but this rubber will not withstand certain chemical weapons. So the whole point of the second skin was, unlike most countries that just make the masks out of butyl full stop because it's a good rubber. You know, most people aren't allergic to it. It's very chemical resistant. The Americans made the actual M40 face piece out of silicon that's like really comfortable, and then made a butyl cover to go over the entire mask that has to be clamped onto it. Yeah, I sadly, like, again, the masks themselves are fucking hard to get in the UK, let alone getting the things. I can't remember if the eyepieces on this are the exact same size as the M17 ones or a bit different. I have a feeling they're slightly different because I have a feeling the M17 outserts I have don't go on this. Because, yeah, I think looking at these outserts, I think they are slightly different than the M17 ones. They're very similar, but I think they aren't quite the same. So, you know, neither works with either mask. The XM40, the prototype M40, was literally identical to an M17 in that regard, but the actual M40 isn't. But yeah, like I said, sadly the straps are wearing out on this. Again, I could get some new elastic and put some new elastic on these. I might do that at some point. But these are the original straps that came with the mask. Again, that strap's being a bitch there. I don't want to damage the mask. Again, like, so the weak point of this mask is definitely the straps. They're not awful as far as straps go, but they are certainly like the weak point of the mask. You know, I've had masks with worse straps. These aren't good. They're But yeah, that's more comfortable like that. I definitely prefer the visuals of the M40 without the second skin on. I think it looks cool being green. And again, it looks more lightweight and compact. The worst gas mask out of all of the ones, I've done several videos on it, out of all the gas masks I've owned, was the Chinese pewter gas mask. And it's basically a mask that, if you're trying to use it with a conventional filter, completely forget it, even though it's meant to be able to work with... Even though it's designed to be able to work with a normal filter, it doesn't work. What the fuck is the active track doing? Let me zoom that out a bit, because the active track is just going bonkers. So yeah, the pewter one, if you try and use it with a normal filter, just fucking forget it. The weight of the filter pulls it away from the mask. Basically the valves and the straps are just dog shit. So the straps, if you tighten them enough that the mask makes an airtight seal, the straps come off. Now, I had two shitty Chinese masks, very similar in design to the pewter one. Again, it just wants to look at my dick for some reason. Good thing I'm wearing trousers underneath there, isn't it? Or shorts. But yeah, so the problem with it is, yeah, I was going to say, yeah, the actual, with the pewter, when I had two shitty Chinese masks of very similar design, I was able to cannibalize parts from both of them to make one functioning mask. But the problem is, that pewter mask is very similar. Come on, where's this? That pewter mask is very similar to the Chinese MF14, but the MF14 is actually all right. So basically, it's like just trying to remake an MF14, but just shit for some reason. And again, I know it's because the pewter one is closer to a direct rip-off of a Draeger mask or something. Just using my tongue to knock the drinking chew out of my mouth. But yeah, the MF14 is absolutely fine, but the pewter is like, it looks very similar to the MF14, but it's just bad in every way. So yeah. Yeah, but like I said, the M40, I don't mind it. I wish I had better straps. I wish it didn't need the second skin. I wish they just made maybe a green butyl mask. But, you know, it's silicon, it's comfortable. You know, I don't really have anything bad to say about the M40. There's just bits I wish were slightly better. You know, it's like a load of the British shit where we have the Chieftain tank and the Warrior, where they should have been really, really good, but there's a couple of things that just let them down a bit. But yeah, like I said, the M40 I think is cool. Ah, that's good hype. Yeah, like I said, I don't mind the active track on this. Most of the time it's good. But yeah, certain masks and things I found can confuse it. Like some masks, it will always track the mask perfectly. Others, like this, look, it keeps going, ooh. Like if I look down and up, yeah, it's working right now, but from certain angles, it seems to then start, like the focus just seems to start wanting to go off on its own. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, well, most masks look cool with the full mock suit loadout, don't they? But yeah, like I said, I don't dislike this mask. 2 voice diaphragms on it, which is good. They're quite good voice diaphragms. Exhale valve is right at the bottom of the mask, so you know your sweat drains out of it. Overall, like I said, if this had better quality straps on it, and as well as the straps, oh here we go, the camera's wanting to look at my dick again. Seeing if I can get that strap a bit better, but this one strap is the really one it fucking hates. Yeah, M40 isn't bad, don't get me wrong, it's one of those masks that with some slight changes could have been way, way better. How big gas masks I own? Way too many. At one point, I used to have a spreadsheet before I lost it when Windows fucked up years ago. And I didn't have a backup of it because it wasn't really an important, you know, document, like a legal document I needed. And at one point on that, I went over 150 masks. Now, since I've not had that spreadsheet, I'm sure the number is bigger. But bear in mind, I've given away masks to people, I've traded masks to people, I've sold masks to people, and I've bought more masks. So I'd think it is well over 150, but I just genuinely don't know. But like I said, at one point, I could say, hit by nation and date, here is all the masks I have. You know, where like with all the British masks, as long as I could find a date stamp on them, they would be listed in date order. So, you know, you'd have the World War II masks going down to like the S10 and the FM12 at the bottom. And then, you know, I had a similar thing with the US masks and like the commie block masks by country. But, you know, I'd have to do a full inventory to even start with those spreadsheets again. I mean, in theory, I could look through all of my videos and then try and remember if I've sold or traded the masks. But, you know, I'm not going to go to that effort again. Like I said, at the moment, I have 2 things listed for sale on eBay. My DPA Geiger counter and the Scott M98 Pro mask, the non-military version, like the civil defense version. And at the moment, there's people showing interest in them. I keep sending offers that are cheaper than the listing price, but nobody's bought them yet. But like I said, what I want to do is basically sell off a mask. When mask sold, find another one and list it. I don't want to have loads of stuff listed for sale at once, basically, because I also need boxes to ship them out in and like bubble wrap and stuff like that. What? She's scared of the polystyrene heads. Could you just buy something even creepier than polystyrene heads if she doesn't like the polystyrene heads? Like mannequin heads, severed mannequin heads, maybe human skulls. Put the helmets on human skulls if she doesn't like the foam heads. Yeah, that's a mannequin behind me. It's never creeped me out. That mannequin's only ever been creepy when now and again you might forget, not in this room, but when I used to have it in the room out there, and it was fully stood up, you know, at full height, and then it was essentially we had like a noose thing around its neck so you could have it tied to the wall so it wouldn't keep falling over. And now and again, it was only when you really forgot it was there for whatever reason or bumped into it in the dark because of the fact like you're like, oh, I know my way around this room, and then you sort of forgot it was there. Again, Sherlock, ideally I would, but I'd need probably a car to transport all the shit, and I don't have a car and can't afford a car now. Again, it's one of those things, like I said, that would be the best way of selling my stuff. I've been to military fairs before and stuff like that, and I completely agree with you. That is the best way of doing it, because you can do it at Soldier's Scene. You know, the person looks at it, they decide if they want it or not, you agree on a price, and then after they bought it, they can't say a week later, oh, actually, I don't think this is what I wanted, so you now need to give me a full refund, and I might send you back a damaged item. You know, I would much rather do it that way, but again, I need a van or whatever to transport everything in. You know, I need to know, again, there's not that many fairs in the UK like that because of, you know, the government shitting on people like us. Yeah, like I said, BBJ, I've got stuff listed on my eBay page. Go to the eBay page. I will link you to it at the moment in case you don't know what it is. But like I said to people, go to the eBay page and bookmark stuff. So this is the eBay page. My dad sells CDs on there as well. So bear in mind, CDs aren't really going to be of any interest to most of the people, I imagine. But yeah, there you go. So there's the eBay page. Go there, bookmark it. Like I said, the two things of mine on sale at the moment is the Finnish Scott Pro Mask, 1998 Civil Defence Respirator, and a DPA Geiger counter. Again, if you show interest in them, I'll send you a lower price offer. I think the lowest I've gone so far on a DP5 is about £150, and I don't really want to go lower than that because I think I spent 200 something pounds on it, and it does work. So again, like I said, I know if I sold the stuff really cheap, I could sell it quickly. But I don't want to really be selling stuff at huge losses. Again, I'm not making a profit on any of that stuff, really, especially with the price of inflation, where some of this stuff is probably inferior. It should be more like £300, £400 based on I bought some of this stuff like 5-10 years ago. But yeah, like I said, when stuff eventually sells off there, I'll find more stuff to dig out, you know, figure out if it's fully working, photograph it, show any faults of it, list at a sensible price. But the problem is, like I said, at the moment is I don't want to list loads of shit for sale at once, in all honesty. I want to get rid of stuff, know it's gone, find more stuff. Because otherwise I'm ending up having to have stuff sealed in boxes ready to ship, taking up room elsewhere in the house. So, you know, my idea is basically list stuff for sale, sell some stuff, list more stuff for sale. That's the way I want to do it. But yeah, like I said, the M40 without the second skin I like a lot more. Like I said, it's just a shame with this thing that its straps are so crap. But like I said, I might see if I can get replacement straps for this at some point. Because in theory, with a buckle system, you could put better straps than this on there. And again, I don't really know what type would be the best type of straps to go with. But I just mean in theory that, you know, you could have ones that are a bit of a better material than what the US uses, these weird kind of cheapo elastic straps. And like I said, in terms of how masks go, these straps certainly aren't the worst straps in the world. You know, there are masks with shitter straps than these. But like I said, it is the weak point of the mask, in my opinion, the M40 straps. Like with the Canadian C4, just look it up. So yeah, like I said, the straps on this, you can tell where the elastic's going because of age. And they are literally that pull-through kind of elastic strap. You know, with a buckle, you tighten it and loosen it, that's it. The silver play button is right behind you somewhere, which is now no longer visible because, oh no, that is visible. Yeah, I got that ages ago. Sadly, it scratches quite easily because of the material. See, it's now says wet on part of S. So yeah, some of the letters are coming off because it like I said, it's that they, because YouTube sends you these out for free. They don't make them out the highest quality materials, and over the years, I think they've been better and worse materials. You know, so some people get really good ones, some people have ones worse than this. I know some people like to make their own ones, like they get the official one and then they make their own one. Yeah, these aren't in the case. So this is like just a bit of metal there to act like a mirror. So you've essentially just got a mirror there, and then this is just like that cheap frame material, you know, like the fake silver. You know, it's like, you know, when you buy like frames for putting stuff in, it's that kind of fake silver, and like the gold is the same fake gold one, and the platinum's the same fake platinum. They're basically made from that picture frame, like kind of varnished wood material. Also, there's a huge scratch you might be able to see there on one of the bits of it. Is that short? Well, yeah, there, look. Yeah, like I said, it's not a good material it's made out of. They're nice, but yeah, ideally, if you're a normal person, what you would do is the moment you get it, you hang it on a wall and never touch it again, and it won't get damaged. But if you get it out and show people it, as soon as stuff bashes against it, it'll get, you know. Is there a diamond one? I didn't know they did diamond. But yeah, the rate my subscribers have increased over the last couple of years, I'll probably be dead by the time I get a gold button. What are the lenses of that white mask in the back? That is like cheap celluloid plastic if you're looking at that one. Oh, look, I'm doing a soy face. Yeah, it's the PTM one is designed to be really, really cheap. So it's essentially like a cotton mask. That's literally it. Like, you know, you'd have a cotton half face mask if you did a homemade one. And then it's like a cheap bit of plastic celluloid type stuff that's slightly bigger than the eyepiece square. There's a gap in the middle, so you flex it to get it in, and then it just sits in there. No, it's not a Liquidator mask. I mean, Liquidators might have worn them, but they're PTM ones. They were really cheap Soviet civil defense masks from like the 50s or 60s. So, like, you'd be fucking lucky if you got a GP5 compared to that thing. That is designed just to stop nuclear fallout particles. The entire mask is essentially a piece of cotton over your mouth and eyes. And that's basically it. They look cool, but they are just essentially like tying a bit of cotton around your mouth and nose. You know, doing that with your t-shirt. That's what the mask is, essentially, is that. It's like a fabric material that will block big particles but let small particles through, and then it's just, you know, like a white face piece with a hood. So the bit it's hanging from is it's like slightly backwards hood bit. But yeah, that's all they are. No, that's my dad, Equalizer. That's my dad because he's retired. My dad likes listening to CDs. So what my dad does is he'll go to a car boot sale or a charity shop. If CDs are cheap, he'll buy absolutely everything out of the stock. He'll listen to all of them. And then ones he really likes, he'll keep. Everything else he'll list for about £1 to £2. That's what he does. So he's not really even like a scalper of charity shops because he doesn't go in there looking for particular stuff. He's like, oh, that CD doesn't look scratched. I'll buy that, as long as it's not one he already owns. Like 60s, 70s era of Cold War surplus, just because I find it's cool. Again, if you wanted stuff for your own use, you want more modern stuff for that. But just in terms of it looks cool, that's the period I like. Right, is there any other masks I've not shown on this stream yet? I think I've probably shown all the ones in this room that are handy. Again, I wouldn't mind showing off that Russian mask I was on about, but the problem is it's dusty inside, which is not good for me. But I'm just wondering if I can quickly hose this mask down. Oh, and this is NATO, by the way, this particular version of the GP9. It's the export version. I'm just wondering, with this mask, if I can just blow the dust out using the PAPR, or if it's really thoroughly on. Let's put the PAPR to full. So see where like that dust is. Bang! I've got one of these. Right, hopefully there's not loads of dust in other bits of the mask. Because again, if it's in the face piece like that, it's probably in the rest of the mask. But let's hook him up. So this one is the, I can tell you the exact name of it. Is it the 4301M? But it's basically an export version of the GP9 for civilian markets. If there's helmets handy, I'll get them out in a second. But let me just turn that down a bit now. Let's put him on about 16 volts. Okay. But yeah, there's not that many helmets in this room. Most of my helmets aren't in here. But oh, that buckle's come off. That's not good. Hopefully this is just when you literally thread them through. Yeah, how did that work? So let's look at the other buckle so I can replace this buckle on there. So it goes through the first bit and then into the second bit. So just trying to figure out actually how that works. Oh, it's a bit snapped off, that's why. Oh dear. Right, I'll see if I can just manually get this strap through, but yeah, a bit of the straps thing's fallen off. This did originally have like a little wheel for the thing, and that's come off. So thanks, Ivans, for your quality control. Even though this is a better one than the Russian mask, it still has problems. Right, can I get this through without breaking the mask? So at least then I can clamp it behind the plastic. But then the mask strap, no, that might be totally useless now unless I find that out. Annoyingly. Thanks, Ivans. Because yeah, it's like each of these has one of those like pegs in there, and that peg's just come out. And I think it's actually snapped the bit it would have been on. Normally I get the satchels with the masks. Some masks don't come with the satchels. Normally I always store the masks in the satchel if they came with the satchel, unless they're ones that people ask to see really regularly. because then they're not obviously in the satchel. Right, I'm just going to see if I can bodge this strap on just to show you the mask. Yeah, fingers crossed I can get this to go through to some extent without snapping more of the plastic. Fucking thing going. Fucking thing sucks. Yeah, I reckon that's the plastic that's snapped there, look. You can see that. Do the others have that same thing? No, they don't. So yeah, that's the plastic is physically snapped now. But again, it might have snapped in a way that at least lets me bodge the strap through it. Just keeps pinching my fingers, the motherfucker. Right, you go through. You go through, you bitch. This Russian, we want to force it through. No consent. Punishment for being bad discipline. We rape this mask. Motherfucker. Super. Come on, it's a really awkward angle to do this thing because it's. Oh, there we go. Right, finally that fucker's through. Right, this is not how the strap is meant to work there, but at least it will hopefully work for demonstrating the mask. So let's try it. Let's loosen every other strap up first. Well, actually, hopefully we'll loosen. No, we don't want to loosen these straps. Oh, that's fully extended. Okay, that's fully extended. Let's fully loosen the other two straps and then work around that strap. Yes, you'll see, comrade, when you're forced to hold master face, you always get good seal. Yeah. No. Okay. That's on at least. Then the straps on this are not comfy because they collide with your ears. That's the strap I can't adjust. Okay, so we'll work around that strap. Yeah, so although I kind of like the face piece of this mask, I don't like the fact you can see what it's doing to my ears there. And if I didn't have that like that, it wouldn't tighten up properly. So it works, but yeah. Yeah, like I said, this is one of those masks. I think, again, if it had better straps, I'd like it a lot more. But because this just cuts into my face, yeah. Again, Soviet masks and Russian masks have always had fairly good voice diaphragms because they just were very good at putting a big drum on it. Same with the Chinese masks. Because if you go back to even the Chinese Type 65, it's got that good like rubber drum voice diaphragm on it that the Chinese then used on all the other masks. And at various points, they were either a separate exhale valve to that, or they would have combined exhale valve with the voice diaphragm in the middle of it. Right, so people interested in helmets, let's put on again the C4 just because it's comfy and it will work for most of my helmets. So let's put this on. There's two helmets I can at least see handily, and I'm not on about the helmet in the background because that will require ones I haven't shown you. So I'll get the two actual historical helmets out because, like I said, that German one's a reproduction. Oh, fuck off, go in. There you go. So it's just been a bit annoying getting that hose to connect them. Go vertically down, that's it. Again, it screws in really nicely, so it's just that how the German PAPR connection system works is that sometimes it is just a bit bollocks to get it. Yeah, I wonder if it's possible to buy like a replacement skull cap for one of these and then just attach it to the M40 where you like staple it on in the top four strap positions and then you just have the thing there at the bottom two things. Because again, this is a nicer thing than the M40 stuff. Right, let me zoom out a bit because we're getting helmets. So we have the Antichrist helmet here. So you can wear this and be the Antichrist. Won't wear that for too long in case it makes me do bad things. We have the totally not M1 helmet that the French have. Let's just get that chin strap thing on the top of the helmet. This is totally not an M1 helmet. How dare you accuse us of ripping off your American helmet and not paying you a license? This is totally an indigenous French design. Is it French? Whatever they call this model of helmet, M51 helmet or something like that. So yeah, that's there's the French, totally not a rip-off. The coolest thing of this helmet is the custom liner I've got for it. And when I say custom liner, I don't mean it's custom like it's not an official thing. What it is that the early models of that helmet had the exact copy of, you know, a USM1 helmet thing. Later on, the French did this really cool, weird thing, which was like a hard hat kind of thing that then would work in any of their helmets. So you could just put this in as the replacement liner. And these are so much better than like the M1 helmet liners. Like I say, it's kind of like a flexible plastic hard hat thing, which you then just friction fit into your The cool thing is I think this works, if I remember right, in some of the other helmets I've got that are missing liners. So yeah, what you basically do is you just get this and you just literally, that's the front helmet there, isn't it? You know, the brim. Literally just push it in tight, and then friction stops it coming out. So like I said, it's as much as this is a bollocks French helmet that's a rip-off of the USM1, which they're claiming was never a rip-off of the USM1. Well, yeah, because that is what English people sound like when they try and talk like the French. Oh, we are whoopsies. If you opened a filter and it's expired in 2023, if you don't keep it open and barely use it, it's probably still good. But again, it also depends what you're using it for, because certain certain filters expire faster than others, and depending what you're exposed to. So again, if you want a filter properly to use, keep it sealed until an emergency when you need it. If you want one for just casual use, something like that's fine, yes. But again, for actual proper chemical emergencies, I've got sealed filters with masks ready to go. So you literally just rip the foil and put them on, because that way they have the highest possible chance of, you know, not being degraded in any way. Where any filters I've got, like, you know, just sitting around like this one, you know, there's stuff in the air that is just naturally getting into the filter and wearing out the charcoal in it. If it was plugged, it would be happening less. But like I said, best case scenario, you don't open the filter in the first place if you want to use it. Next best scenario, you open it and then you reseal it as soon as you're not wearing it. So, you know, you put the caps back on it. So that way, although you've opened it, it's currently now not having any other interactions going on with it other than what stuff's got in it when you had it open and you used it. Worst case scenario is you do what I'm doing here, because you basically, anything in the air that's getting blown around by the air conditioner or just natural air stuff with perfumes or whatever, is getting into it and wearing the filter down. So although it's wearing down at a much slower rate than if you were breathing through it, there's still naturally some airflow getting into the filter, and, you know, the charcoal probably dries out when exposed to the air over time and stuff like that. So yeah, the other helmet, the one I actually like genuinely really like for the steel pots, is this guy. The Yugo one. I'll have to remember the model number. But the Yugo Stahlhelm, because if you see this, it's blatantly based on the Stahlhelm. It's just a bit more cut down, not as bulky as a Stahlhelm. But this one has the later model of chin strap, which is really nice because you literally just do that. So what's good about that, if I get my C4 back on, because of how easy it is to adjust the you know, like liner system, not liner, sorry, strap. Get helmet. Now, actually, with the PAPR on, I can't do this because of the hose, but see, what I might be able to do, see if I can just do this without strangling myself, is can I put this back like that? Yeah, again, like, not a good idea because of, you know, risk strangulation. Yeah, there we go. Like I said, I really like that style of strap because of how easy it is to just loosen it and tighten it easily. You know, it works like some of the captive gas mask straps, similar sort of theory. But yeah, Arkan's Tigers have entered the chat. But yeah, like I said, this is a really nice, good helmet. Don't want to do damage it, but it's a decent quality steel pot based on the Stahlhelm, so has that really nice shape. And, you know, it's very easy, at least with the later liners, to quickly loosen it and tighten it depending on what you put on your head. That's cool, Kevin. Yeah, like I said, these are pretty good steel pots. Like, again, the thing with steel pot helmets is it's partially dependent on the quality of the steel used and the heat treatment of the steel. Because apparently the problem with some steel helmets is they can be quite strong, but they're suddenly very brittle. So something hits it and it just cracks the helmet. And, you know, if they're not good enough quality steel, they don't really stop stuff. But yeah, most of the steel pots of the Cold War, say, these, the American M1 helmets, the British Mark III and Mark IV helmets, you know, most of the Soviet helmets, the East German M56, they're made from a good enough quality steel that they will stop things like 22 LR and about 32. And then apparently it's a bit of a gamble depending on range and like everything if 9mm or 45 is stopped by the helmet. And then generally stuff like 762 SIG, not SIG, sorry, 762 Tokarev generally always penetrates them. But when I've seen, again, loads of ballistic tests on old steel pot helmets, most of the Cold War era ones survive weaker pistol calibers, and then the heavier pistol calibers depends on range and angle a lot more. Right, yeah, see you, Hype. Enjoy your day. Thanks for coming on. I'll head off in a minute, to be honest. I've been on quite a while. But, yeah. Like I said, I actually genuinely like this helmet. It's a good one. Let's get the weight of that on my throat. Yeah. Okay. Not a good way of doing that, but at least you can do it that way. And then, like I said, but yeah, these I genuinely like. Let me put my glasses on again so chat's easier to read. I probably won't bother with any more gas masks for today's thing. One of the little bits of the line was loose. I'm just trying to see. Oh no, maybe that is the bit that just always sits loose on it. But yeah, like I said, these helmets particularly, they're one of my just favourite designs of the Cold War because it's based on the Stahlhelm, which everybody secretly knows is the best helmet ever of that type because of this the shape and, you know, head fit of it. And yeah, just the fact you can easily like I said, adjust the chin strap, get the chin strap exactly how you want it. It's not one of those ones where you have to you know, spend ages doing various bits. And yeah, it's a low enough profile that it actually covers enough of your head, or you know, you can tilt it up and still get a good field of view of this helmet. It does you know, does sit well, this helmet. Yeah, again, it, like I said, it does depend on the helmet, Kevin, and like the 9mm load and that, because again, some of the helmets survive one 9mm and then the second one will destroy it, even if, you know, you don't shoot it in the same place because of metal fatigue. Right, see, I don't want to say quite, yeah, like I said, most steel pots of the Cold War though never stop a 7.62 Tokarev. That's like one of the things with Kevlar helmets, even where some of the channels that test them are like, if it stops a 7.62 Tokarev round at 10 yards, it's a good Kevlar helmet. Yeah, probably. Like I said, with these helmets, again, these helmets, like the thing is with nearly all military helmets like this, they were never designed against any cartridges regardless. They were always just shrapnel and like debris being flown around. You know, the idea was that, you know, like shrapnel at a distance wouldn't pen it because it's not, you know, like an actual Spitzer style point coming in at the, you know, good angle. And obviously like rocks and mud being thrown up from an explosion, it's still going to protect your head from those sort of coming down and crushing your skull in. But again, it's just a bonus that some of these helmets stop bullets. Again, sometimes people are just stupidly fucking lucky in like some historical accounts where a bullet that would easily double pen the helmet, you know, hit them, but it hit at just the right angle it deflected. Because again, that's why East German helmet shaped like that. You know, it's a Stahlhelm, but it's a very kind of sort of cone-shaped Stahlhelm, is because cone-shaped helmets are essentially the best in terms of most stuff hitting them aren't going to hit them at a flat angle. Oh, my British Mark VII helmet's behind me as well. Let's just get that on. That doesn't work with all too many gas masks, sadly. The Mark VII. Oh, there's my Chinese helmet as well. They're like modern Chinese, just generic ones. But yeah, Mark VII helmet I like a lot. Again, this is one of my favourite of the Kevlar helmets. Again, this needs a wet wipe on there because it's got just shit along that side. Look, where I think that again is the coffee from that day. That fucking coffee splattered absolutely everywhere on me, the chair, everything in the background. And I'm not a massive fan of the chin straps on these. They're not ideal, but yeah, we'll just not do the chin strap up on it then. Because again, I might have to adjust the helmet to my head. But yeah, there's a guy that survived being shot with a 7.62 by 39 AK round of one of these. I think it's in the Tank Museum, that helmet. But this helmet was like the stupidly good British one before we went to the modern ones. Again, the modern ones are better, but they're essentially just a licensed version of the American ACH or ECH, whichever one it is, the ultra high molecular weight polyethylene one. But again, this is just a chunky Kevlar helmet. You know, it's very bulky, but it's like I said, the reason I like this helmet is just because, yeah, in Afghanistan, a lot of soldiers who would have been otherwise fatally shot survived because of the dome shape of this helmet and the thickness of the Kevlar. Now, it's jackets and that I sometimes do. It depends on what the weather is, if it's appropriate for the jacket or not. I wouldn't wear the jacket to some serious thing, if it was like, something where, it would look really out of place. But sometimes I wear like camo stuff just because it's, got lots of pockets and whatever else. I think I've got the strap right now. Well, the press often had these helmets just painted blue. Loads of press helmets were the British Mark 6As and the Mark 7s. Because, again, when the press went out to the stuff like that, at least in Afghanistan and Iraq, the army provided them with the protective equipment. And they literally had the ECBAs and the other like models of British body armor just in like a blue color, either dark blue or light blue. So the helmets were painted that color or finished in that color. And they basically had an exact copy of the British Army jackets at the time, just made in like a blue thing with press written on it. Because the army, I think, was the guys that issued, if journalists went out there to film them, they issued them with protective gear. Whereas, in lots of conflicts now, the press, buy their own gear, so, they'll be wearing the same stuff depending on what theatre they're in. Let me see if I can find you some of that British press armour. I'm just trying to see if I can find the ones that are literally, yeah, so like here we go, look, so with this one, I'll just link to the eBay thing. That is a British Osprey vest that's literally in a blue colour for the press. That is literally the British, is that the Mark III Osprey or Mark IV Osprey? I can't quite tell. I think maybe the Mark III. But yeah, that's literally the exact British Army, version that would have been in Desert DPM, just in blue for the press. And there are other ones that are similar. Like there's an ECBA they definitely did in the press colours, which I wouldn't mind buying that if I could ever find it. Let's see if I can get one just if I specifically search helmet. So this particular one is, again, I don't know what army they're like. I don't know if the URLs even fit in here. Oh, it just about does. Like this one, this looks more like a US style Pasket on that one. But yeah, there are ones where you can definitely see them in British helmets in like various things, like especially during war in Iraq and Afghanistan, when you saw the press reporting about stuff going on over there. They did have literally, the press. I also do have a press, like a bright blue press cover somewhere, or UN, or just a blue one that you then put UN or press on for the British Mark 6 helmets, where it was like the standard army camo liner, just printed in blue. So what you do is you give them the normal helmet, they put the liner on and tighten it up with like press just printed on it or whatever. Yeah, I like most of the US helmets, in all honesty, like the Pasket, the ACH, all those, because again, they're based on Stowhounds, but just, modernized. Like I said, this helmet I like a lot. The Mark 6, I have very mixed feelings on, because the Mark 6, for the people who can't remember from every other time I've talked about it, and I will have to end the stream soon because I think the camera is going to burn up otherwise. So the first issue British Mark 6 used ballistic nylon as the filler. But the problem was there wasn't enough ballistic nylon in there and it wasn't flexible enough to actually be good. So in theory, it was meant to be a step up from the steel helmets, but it was far less protective. So 9mm goes through both sides of standard British Mark 6. The Mark 6A, which is the black version that was made out of Kevlar, which was like the rushed out one to fix all the ballistic issues of the Mark 6, that was actually an all right helmet in terms of defending people, but the helmet wasn't very good. So the soldiers complained about a lot. If they had a backpack on and they laid prone, it would push the helmet forwards like that, and then they couldn't look down their scope. So while the Mark 6A is perfectly protected for your actual head, the problem is it's not a very good helmet shape. Although I do like the look of the Mark 6 because it's kind of that slightly futuristically looking British 80 stuff when the SA-80 and everything else came out. But, it looked futuristic even if it's a bit of a shit helmet. So the Mark 7 was like the proper fix they did in the end, you know, even thicker Kevlar, actually cut properly for use with comms and equipment, you know, so it doesn't get in the way. And then like 7, but the Mark 7, as good a helmet as it was, didn't stay in service for all that long, simply because of the fact that the British Army at that point probably had already got the contract signed to start buying the ACHs or the ECHs and building them under license. And like I said, out of all the helmets I've got, that is my favourite one, the modern British one, because it's made of that ultra high molecular weight polyethylene stuff that is really, really ballistically good at protecting you. And it's got that tightening system at the back. So you basically, all you do is you loosen it and tighten it like a bike helmet. So, you know, the whole frame of the helmet goes in and out like that as you tighten the little back buckle. So it means that if you want to put a gas mask on, you just take the helmet off, loosen it fully, put the helmet back on, and tighten it to the amount that you need it for the gas mask. And it works with loads and loads of masks because of that reason. It's not like, you know, the liner is a thickness, you know, it's barely there, the liner, when it's fully expanded for people with big heads. And if you've got a small head, you essentially just keep tightening the liner. You know, I know there is still a couple of different sizes of the helmet, but, you know, it's a much more versatile liner system that I think more helmets should adopt. Cycle helmet style way of tightening is way better than a lot of the military ones. But anyway, I'll go off now. Thanks everyone for coming on. So don't forget to like if you haven't liked before you go off. Like I said, it's been quite a hot day. I'll flick the PAPR off now. So yeah, to do that, look, I don't even need to turn the switch off on the PAPR. I can just dial this all the way down, flick the laptop power supply off, PAPR is turned off. And I don't know if you can hear it doing that, but again, it's like I then flick it back on, you know. But like I said, so I now have, like I said, a way of using the PAPR without wasting battery life of things, you know, like I said, that just literally runs off a laptop power supply. So like I said, that's a really nice way of using that PAPR. Don't have to worry about it, you know, eating through batteries that then need recharging, or, you know, an entire pack of batteries to power it again. But anyway, like I said, I'll be off. Thanks for coming on. I will probably do a video in a minute with that PAPR, seeing if it does run properly on 2 9-volts, because again, that way for people who want to power it via batteries, that's a good way of doing it. Again, although I imagine 2 9-volts would drain fairly quickly, but at least, you know, it's a way that if you're not using the PAPR for really long periods, you know, you could do it that way. Because again, you could just literally buy a 12-volt car battery and clip it to the thing and power it that way, if you weren't worried about the weight and size of the battery. But yeah, like I said, with that PAPR, at least now being able to power it via a, you know, a plug-in AC to DC variable power supply that literally connects properly to it without, you know, modding it at all. That is genuinely really handy, just simply because of the fact, as I said, that, you know, you don't have to worry about, you know, various things like that of, you know, thinking if I'm wearing, because again, if I did it for over an hour on today's stream, I'd have probably eaten like into a quarter of that battery pack or something. And like I said, it's not expensive. Sorry, it's not cheap, replacing 10 AA batteries in one go. You know, 10 AA's, 10 AAA's, however you powered it, to get the 15 to 18 volts that it likes to use. So anyway, yeah, have a good day, everybody. I'm going to tidy up some of the stuff because there's filters absolutely everywhere and masks everywhere now. The M40, I'm going to keep the second skin off it. I just need to make sure. Oh, I conveniently saw this just before I go off. So yeah, this was the 3D printed thing Steve did for me. So basically, if you're using it with the batteries, you put the battery pack in there, plug it into the bottom of the PAPR unit, and then you can screw this on like the original German batteries screwed on. Like I said, this is actually a good use of a PAPR, some sort of PAPR, 3D print or something like this, because it's making a, you know, random things fit a part that's already there and look like the original thing. But yeah, so anyway, I'll do a video of that PAPR and see if I can get it to run off the batteries. Yeah, cheers, Kevin. Have a good day, everybody. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. There's a video already filmed for tomorrow. I might get the PAPR one done, like I said, if the batteries are charged up and ready and it works. I'll do a quick video showing that working with batteries for, again, people who have those models PAPR that are interested in just, you know, if they're using them for a short period. 2 9-volts seems a much better way of doing it to me than, you know, because again, modern 9-volts, I've got the ones there that, is there, oh, they finished charging, good. Let me just show you them. So these, with loads of modern rechargeable 9-volts, you don't even need to buy a 9-volt charger, although I have one now. you can literally get the ones where, see that they've got a USB hole in the bottom? So you just literally charge them off the USB power supplies. And then, so yeah, what I'm going to do is have the batteries around like this. The original connector, I'm going to hopefully connect to those 2 points like that. And then, or however I have to position it, maybe like that to get it to work. And then essentially wire up those two. So it's 2 9 volts in series to make 18 volts, which is, you know, because if you run it off 9 volts in parallel, not series, if you run it from off 9 volts in parallel, the problem is that because it only sends 9 volts to the PAPR unit, it will constantly be warning you that it's running low on battery, and it won't be a very fast fan. Whereas if you do them in series, you get 18 volts and the PAPR is running at full throttle. Anyway, have a good day, everybody. I'm going to need to let this recharge now, the camera, because I did it with a nice camera that is battery powered. And it's also going to be very hot now because it's a hot day and this thing gets hot if you're filming for like more than an hour. So yeah, have a good day, everybody. See you all tomorrow. Oh, I have to end this up there, don't I? And I've been on 2 hours, right? Have a good day.